They say rulers are chosen by God. But when this king was born, even the priests recoiled in horror. His spine twisted like a snake, his jaw jutted out unnaturally, and his body was so deformed that some whispered he was Satan's child. His enemies called him a monster. His allies defended him with trembling loyalty. And history? History tried to erase him. But not today. Because today we uncover the disturbing truth about the king so terrifying in appearance, they thought he wasn't human at all. King Richard III. Richard of York was born on October 2nd, 1452, the 12th child of Richard, Duke of York. He came into the world during one of England's bloodiest family feuds, the Wars of the Roses, a violent struggle for the throne between the House of York and the House of Lancaster. But Richard wasn't like his brothers. Almost immediately after birth, people noticed something was wrong. The midwives were silent. The women exchanged looks. And when the baby was passed to the priest, even he hesitated before blessing the child. Richard's body was misshapen. His right shoulder was higher than his left. His spine was bent. Some accounts say he had a limp. In an age when physical deformity was seen as a sign of moral corruption or divine punishment, this was a terrible omen. Rumors spread fast. Narma. Was he a punishment from God? A changeling swapped at birth? Or worse, a demon in royal flesh? Being born into royalty should have meant luxury, education, and prestige. But Richard's childhood was marked by insecurity and ridicule. While his brothers Edward and George were admired for their strength and charisma, Richard was the sickly one, the crooked one. Whispers followed him in the royal halls. And as if his physical condition wasn't hard enough, his mother, Cecily Neville, reportedly showed him little affection. Some historians suggest she distanced herself from Richard due to his deformity, afraid of the social and religious implications. But Richard? He didn't crumble. He read. He studied war. He learned statecraft. And most of all, he remembered every insult. By the time Richard reached adulthood, the Wars of the Roses were in full swing. His older brother Edward seized the throne and became King Edward IV. Suddenly, Richard was no longer just the deformed younger sibling. He was the brother of the king, and soon, the Lord Protector of England. Richard proved himself on the battlefield. He fought in the wars. He showed military intelligence and courage. And yet, no matter what he did, the rumors stayed. He was still that deformed one. And when his brother Edward died suddenly in 1483, everything changed. Edward's son, just 12 years old, was next in line to be king. But Richard claimed the boy was illegitimate. Within weeks, Richard locked his nephews in the Tower of London, and they were never seen again. Just like that, Richard became King Richard III. The whispers got louder. The crooked uncle had murdered the rightful heirs. A demon had stolen the throne. After taking the crown, Richard III ruled for only 2 years, but his reign was drenched in fear and mystery. He tried to implement reforms. He opened courts for commoners. But none of it mattered, because the public couldn't look past the stories. It didn't help that William Shakespeare, writing over a century later, would immortalize Richard as the ultimate villain, a hunchback tyrant with a twisted soul and a taste for blood. In Richard III, the king is portrayed as a deformed, manipulative murderer. Shakespeare describes him as rudely stamped, deformed, and unfinished, as if he were a factory defect in God's design. But what was real and what was fiction? Was Richard truly a monster, or was he the victim of a centuries-long smear campaign? For over 500 years, Richard III's final resting place was a mystery. People said he was thrown into a river. Others believed his tomb was desecrated. That changed in 2012. A team of archaeologists digging beneath a parking lot in Leicester made an astonishing discovery. A skeleton with a severely curved spine, killed by a blow to the skull. DNA tests confirmed it. They had found King Richard III. The spine was twisted by scoliosis, not hunchbacked. His body wasn't monstrous, just different. He wasn't a demon, he was human. The myths unraveled. So why was Richard III painted as a monster for so long? The answer lies in history's victors. After Richard was killed at the Battle of Bosworth in 1485, Henry Tudor became King Henry VII. To legitimize his claim to the throne, Henry needed Richard to be seen as evil, a usurper, a murderer, a deformity of nature. Churches, poets, playwrights, and historians joined in. They created an image of Richard as physically and morally repugnant, an image that would last for as more entertaining for centuries. But modern historians challenge this. They say there's no solid proof Richard murdered his nephews. No record of widespread cruelty. In fact, many of his laws protected the poor. But truth rarely survives when history isn't just written by the victors, it's rewritten by the storytellers. Richard III may have been bent, but he wasn't broken. He was human, misunderstood, vilified, and finally rediscovered beneath a parking lot. So next time you hear a story about a monster king, ask yourself, who really benefits from calling someone a demon? If this dark dive into royal secrets shocked you, make sure to like, subscribe, and share with someone who thinks history is boring. We're here to prove it's anything but. Because the truth is always stranger than fiction. Mine.